Good morning. Welcome. It's been a while. I was traveling a little bit and then got the virus, unfortunately. But thank God we're back and excited to restart our learning. Take a moment, please, and like, share, subscribe so that others could see this video as well. Today is a very special day. It's an auspicious day. It's Beis Nissen, which is the yahrzeit, the day of passing of the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. And among the many things that he accomplished was establishing a yeshiva, the Chabad yeshiva, called Tomchei Tmimim. And what was unique about this yeshiva was that the study of Chassidus wasn't an extracurricular activity. It wasn't something which was, if you have a little time at the end of the day or on Shabbos, you learn a little bit, but it was actually part of the curriculum as part of the study every single day in the morning and in the evening to learn Chassidus, which is the concept that learning Chassidus helps us understand the inner dimension of Torah, and it helps us appreciate it more and get more in touch with ourselves. And today is his day of passing, his yahrzeit, when the neshama has an aliyah. And the very first mimer, the first discourse that's chosen to study in his yeshiva, until today it's studied in Chabad yeshiva as the first opener, is a discourse that I want to start today. And it's on this week's Parsha, Nekut Torah, from the Alter Rebbe. It's actually from the author of the Tanya, the first Chabad Rebbe. And in it, he discusses the really foundation of what it means to come to serve Hashem and what is our Yamaka? Oh, great. What it is to properly serve Hashem and dealing with our internal animal, if you will. And the context of this mimer is from this week's Parsha. It says, Adam ki yakriv mikem, if a person will bring an offering from you. And then Torah goes on to explain how this offering is brought. Which animals do you bring? How do you bring it? Many other details involved, which is really what this book that we're starting this week, Vayikra, the third book, is about korbanos, about bringing offerings in the temple, how it's brought, many, many details, who brings it, for what reasons, what types, and so on. If you study the actual verse, you'll find a lot of things that are troubling or different than usual. For example, he starts off and he says, Adam, if a man. Usually when Torah speaks, he says, if you will. Or at least it's consistent. He starts and says, third person, and he'll continue third person. If a person will want to bring an offering, then he will do A, B, and C. But in this case, he starts off in third person, and he says, Adam, a person. And then as he continues, he says, that will bring from among you. So he switches from third to direct, which is not a normal way of speaking in any context, especially in a Torah. Number one. Number two, he will bring an offering, which is singular. And then he says, you shall bring your offerings. If a person will, singular, come closer to bring an offering, you guys shall, it's plural, bring your offering. So you start third person, then you get direct. You start singular, then you get plural. It's a very strange type of wording in the pasuk. Also, the order of how things are said. It says, Adam ki yakriv mikem. If a person will bring from you an offering. The normal way of saying it is if somebody from you, meaning one of you guys, will bring an offering. You don't say, if you'll bring an offering from you. This is the opening questions, three general questions. We start third person, then we get direct. We start singular, then we go plural. We say from among you, which is seemingly in the wrong order. It should say before. If someone from among you will bring an offering, not if you'll bring an offering from among you. It's not a way of speaking. So to understand this, we have to introduce a fundamental concept that, as it's known, every person has two souls. The soul is what makes us alive, but there's obviously more than one. We have two, a godly soul and an animal soul. And the godly soul, its root, its source, comes from a term called Adam. When Yecheskel, the prophet, speaks about a vision that he saw, a godly vision, it's not a form of a God, because of course God has no form, and it's one of the principles of faith that God doesn't have a body. But a prophet saw in spiritual concept a chariot that had on it a face of a person, or a resemblance of the face of a person, an ox, a lion, and other different components here that were on this chariot. It's not God, but it's a spiritual vision. That face of a human, or resembling a human, that's the source spiritually where the neshama comes from. Suffice it to say, the godly soul that we have comes from a very spiritual place. That's soul number one. We also find that when it talks about Hashem's throne, which again is metaphorical because he has no body that has to sit down, he doesn't get tired, he doesn't sit. But metaphorically, the chariot also, it says there was an image of what looked like a person. Again, God's not a body. But you have this reference to Adam, a person, and our neshama, our godly soul, comes from that level, which if you're going to compare the level of human and the level of animal, it's a higher consciousness, it's a higher sensitivity, it's a higher level. And when we say our soul comes from the level of human or level of man, that would represent that it's a very deep level. Now, how does it come down here into this world? It goes through a bunch of levels. You're talking about a spiritual chariot, whatever that means, and the face of a person, whatever that means. And it's coming down here. It goes through many, many different levels, including getting consumed, if you will, in the ox image that was there on the chariot. Okay, but the point is that it goes through many processes to descend from its glorious, lofty level of being the man, as opposed to the animal, and it comes into this world. The purpose of this, the tachlis, the ultimate purpose of why the neshama comes into this world, is in order to refine the animal soul, which is our second soul that we have. The second soul that we have is also in us. It's known as the animal soul because it behaves like an animal, in the sense that it's selfish, its drive is pleasure, and all it cares about is that. It could do nice things also if it's beneficial for its goals or missions. But if not, then it could do very, very bad things. And the purpose of this godly soul coming down from such a high level is to elevate, refine, correct this animal soul. And the way that it does it is in a two-stage process. Number one is called iskafia, where it subdues it, it bends it, it says no. But it doesn't really change the animal soul. The animal soul wants to, let's just say, have a good piece of meat, and it wants to steal it, which would be forbidden. The godly soul says, no, we're not going to do it because it's wrong. The animal soul still wants to do it. So I didn't transform the animal soul, but I subdued it. It's called iskafia. I bent it. I said no. I forced it not to do what it wanted to do because it's wrong. The second level is transformation, where I work with my body, I work with my animal soul, I work with my desires, that I transform them, and now the animal soul wants positive things. It doesn't even want to go steal because that's forbidden. It wants to do positive things, to pray, to serve Hashem, to help other people, so on and so forth. But these two levels is the purpose, these two components is the ultimate purpose of why the neshama comes down into this world. Godly soul, which is a journey, which, let's just say, it's not fun. The godly soul appreciates godliness and wants to be in heaven and appreciate everything that's going on there. But it comes into this world for that purpose, to elevate this concept. Now, how do you do so? How do you do it? How do you just subdue the animal soul? So the way that it's the process that it happens is through prayer. When we say Shema, and it's not just words, we say Hashem is one, but the soul is contemplating what in Chassidus is called Mizbeinenes or Hizbeinenus. It's reflecting, it's thinking very deeply. There are two types of meditation. There's a general meditation that people talk about, and that is emptying your mind, where you want to remove everything and try to be as clear as possible and get rid of distractions and so on. That's one type of contemplation. It's not what we're talking about here. Hizbeinenus in Chassidus contemplation means that a person is focusing very, very strongly on one concept. So I'm not removing everything and just having an empty mind, which has its own dangers, but I'm zeroing in and connecting with an idea very, very strongly that it becomes part of how I think, of how I operate. It becomes me. And the way that you do that is through deep focus and concentration, and this is part of davening, where the idea in this context is that Hashem is one. We say in Shema that the declaration that Hero Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. The concept of Hashem being one is that there's nothing else besides him, and nothing else matters besides him. Nothing else is important besides him. He's everything. But you look around the world, it doesn't seem to be that way. There are other interests, or so it seems, or there are other conflicting, let's just say, desires. Some of them are forbidden, some of them are just useless. So the reflection and the contemplation that Hashem is one is to say that there's nothing else that matters besides him. So when the godly soul comes into the body, and with the body, with the animal soul, spends time in prayer, thinking that what really matters and what's important is Hashem, that helps him down the road to do the iskafia when the animal soul wants to take care of other things, to say, no, you want to, but you can't. And that's what we say in Shema, the Ahavta, you should love Hashem b'chol levavcha, with your whole heart. You could have said b'chol libcha, which would be the normal way of saying your heart. What's this levavcha? It sounds like there's more than one. Because there are two hearts. There's the godly soul, the animal soul, which represents two emotions or two feelings or two drives. And what we have to reach a level is that we're loving Hashem with both of them. Not just the godly soul. Of course it wants God, big deal. That's naturally what it yearns for. But to get the animal soul, which is the purpose of why the godly soul came down, is to elevate that. So in order to understand our questions about sacrifices and offerings and the context of why Torah starts with singular and goes plural, starts with third person, goes direct, if someone brings an offering from among you, should have said if someone from among you brings an offering. All this, we have to first understand some basics. And that is, you have a godly soul that comes into this world. The purpose is to work with, through subduing and transforming the animal soul. That's done in many ways, but the basic way is through prayer, that the person gets refined or worked through. That happens through the process of contemplation and prayer. Tomorrow, God willing, will continue, and that is the concept of you can't just pop into Shema and expect it to work. There is a preparation to that Shema, which helps us get to that. But join us, same time, same place. God willing.
I don't want to be subdued.
You want to be, or you want to subdue?
I don't want to be. I want to be subdued.
It's a good goal.
Subdued.